Greetings. We're back working with the sacrum again on our second lesson, freeing the sacrum against the wall. So I wanted to show you some pictures, just again so that you can understand a little bit more about what we're doing. The shape of a vertebra, looking at it from the side and looking at it from above. So this is the back of the body. This is the front of the body. You see how the vertebra is quite big, 2 to 3 inches. So when you talk about your spine in the front, it's really in the center of your belly. And what you feel when you say, I'm touching my backbone, is this little sticky outy business right here. These are all called processes, and they just simply are attachment points for muscles. And then there's a big ditch here with the big thick muscles of the spine that go up and down the spine. So this spinous process is the subject of the first part of our lesson, the sacrum, the second part. So here's a side view. So there's the sticky outy bit that you feel against the floor when you roll your spine up and down, as we've been doing. And then the idea that they rest on each other, just like in my model here, like we looked at last time. So they rest on each other kind of like shingles rest on each other. And the idea is that when we roll up, we separate those slightly, very slightly. And then when we roll back onto our back, we tuck them into each other so that everything gets petted downward towards the pelvis. This is towards the head up here. This is towards the pelvis down here. Everything gets petted in this direction down towards the pelvis. All right. I think that's, oh no. And then for also what we're going to be doing earlier today is just to take a look at a picture of the sacrum. This is from the back. So you're looking at the back of your pelvis, the back of your hip bones. This is the sacrum that I talked about last week, a triangular shaped apex pointing down towards the feet with the tailbone, base of the triangle connecting to the lumbar spine right here. Sides of the pelvis called ilia, plural, or one ilium, singular. So sacroiliac joint, you may have heard that word before. So the sides of the pelvis can get shifted or twisted, and the sacrum can tilt forward or back or right or left, causing some discomfort in how these bones come together. And so working against the wall where we have the weight of the legs, I'm going to move over here and continue talking. Where we have the weight of the legs, you're going to want to take your socks off. Dropping straight down into the hip joint is a very relieving position for the pelvis, for the hip joints, and for the sacrum, because the hip joints are right in front of the SI joint. So when we work in this position or this position, we have gravity and the whole weight of the legs. What do you think? Each leg weighs maybe 10 pounds. Dropping into that, helping those bones to spread out, flatten out, and gap. And when we move ourselves side to side, which we're going to do, we're rolling across the pelvis. And so when we roll to the right over this way, it's kind of as if we're opening the space between the sacrum and the pelvis on the right side. And when we roll to the left side, we're going to start the lesson with a baseline. And so I just want you to please, and actually I'm going to face you this way. I'd like you to just lie on your back with your legs straight. Put your hands on the bony points of your pelvis, the ones that stick out on skinny people. And then would you please lift up your right leg and set it back down? And do that several times until you notice, what does my whole pelvis do? Does it shift to the left? Or does it shift to the right? Or does one side of my pelvis press into the ground while the other side of the pelvis goes towards the ceiling? So how involved is my pelvis in the movement of the leg? And then try it on the other side and see what happens on the other side. So how much coordination is there to support the movement of the leg? Does there have to be a destabilization or an imbalancing of the pelvis to move the leg? And we'll come back to that at the end of the lesson to see where we've got. So let's come back to the 90-90 position. And let's just begin with a review of beginning to roll just the very bottom of the tailbone. If this were my tailbone where my finger is, we're just going to roll the tailbone off the floor and back down again, and off the floor a little bit and back down. So you're using your feet almost as if they're suctioned to the wall, and just with a light amount of pressure, just the least amount necessary, so that you roll that tail between your legs a little bit and then let it come back to the beginning. Roll it between your legs and let it come back to the beginning. And then roll it between your legs and roll up a little higher. So maybe you're pressing your lower back into the floor. And then slowly roll down inch by inch by inch by inch. And then as we did last week, so this is just a review, you're going to start to roll up one segment higher each time you go back down to the beginning. And I'm not going to go through this because we did it last week. You can watch the last week's recording if you haven't already, rolling up again. And you should do last week before you do this week, please. And up again, a little bit higher. So I'm kind of fast forwarding through this. But you may want to take the time to just kind of review. And you're only going to go up as high as your shoulder blades, to the tops of your shoulder blades. If you go much higher than that, you really put a lot of strain on the neck. So please do not roll up past your shoulder blades. All right, so now what happens if you only press? And I'm going to move the camera now so that you can have a different view of me. Let's see. Okay. So what happens if you just press the right foot into the floor, into the wall, sorry. When the right foot goes into the wall, you roll to the left side of the pelvis and the right pelvis comes off the floor. So that's what I was talking about earlier with the sacrum, of being able to be on one side of the pelvis, pressing sort of right where that left SI joint is, and gapping it a little bit, creating a little space between the side bone of the pelvis and the sacrum by how you roll to it. And then go the other way. Just across and back and across and back. And then you can alternate slowly, not pushing, not creating a lot of tension, keeping your breathing soft and easy, rolling from one side to the other. And really, don't let it be about the final product, please. Let it be about the process of getting there. So you could be someone who says, well, I can do that. Look, see, I'm doing that. I know how to do that now. That's the beginning of the process, not the end. What you want to be doing is noticing how the contact through the back of the pelvis and yourself is changing. You want to be noticing each point by point contact. You want to feel the weight that's being driven downward into your hip joints and into the back of your sacrum. It should feel really good to open up the back of the SI joint like this. Okay, good. So then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll up again just a little bit and take one foot, the right foot, away from the wall, place it on the wall, and roll back down. And then the left foot. So you'll roll yourself up just a little bit, maybe to the middle of the back. Peel one foot off the floor, the left foot this time. Place it back down and roll your pelvis down. So you're rolling up with both feet, lifting one foot away from the wall, bringing a foot to the wall, rolling back down. So what kind of a challenge as you continue going right and left with this, using both feet to roll up, then taking a step with one foot, and then lowering back down and rolling back down. I'm sorry, lowering the foot and then rolling back down. So what does it take to balance yourself and bring one of your supports away from the wall? And do you dip? Do you rise? Do you twist? Do you torque? How can you find enough support through the leg that's getting the support from the wall so that you can make this happen? And now stay up and go from right to left. Only if it's comfortable. If it hurts, do not do it. Maybe it means you're going to want to go up a little bit higher as you sort of walk in place. And then come back down. And take a rest. You can lengthen your legs up the wall for a moment. And now back again, please. This time we're going to roll up and lift the foot at the same time. Roll down and lower the foot. Roll up and lift the left foot away from the wall. So it's a simultaneous action. You're rolling up the spine as you lift the leg. This gives you a very clear picture of the support that your spine provides you. Because now you must really rely on your spine in a different way when you don't do it in two steps. When you do it in one step like this, are your shoulders hunched? Is your chest pulled down? Is your chin to the ceiling? I can't see me. Is your chin to the ceiling? Or can you lengthen everything out and be completely undisturbed everywhere else, except how you find support through your hip joints and between your spine and the floor? All right, great. So now we're going to finish by holding onto the knees, around the fronts of the knees towards the shins, and just shake and jiggle the legs. Make sure that you've got them in your hands, that if you let go with one or the other, that they would actually begin to fall and you could catch them. Okay? Now you're going to take both knees to the right as far as they go, both knees to the left as far as they go, kind of like they're on a track. I'm just going to go as far to the right as you can and as far to the left as you can. So this is a different version of what we did against the wall. We're still rolling across between the right SI and the left SI, the joint, the two sides of the joint. And now what if you wanted to go further? There's kind of a precipice that you might feel where if you went any further, you might feel like you'd kind of lose your balance and fall over. So what would you have to do to negotiate that place? What would happen if you lengthened? So we're all going to go right. Take the knees to the right. Approach the precipice. Then if you lengthen the left arm and reach the left arm away from you towards the wall, you'll find that you can balance there on that precipice and not fall over, that you can actually go a little bit further on that precipice. Let's do the right side again. So we start with both knees traveling together, and you approach the part where you might fall over. You lengthen the left arm away, reach the left knee towards the wall, and start to find your way over the lip of the edge a little bit, controlling everything by how you steer through your knees. Now come back. And let's go to the left a few times, going straight across to the left until you come to the precipice. Lengthen your right arm, reach the left the right knee away towards the wall so that suddenly you have enough counterbalance between the falling knee and the knee that's providing you counterbalance, which is the right knee, that you can move closer and closer to the precipice. So you'll continue that. Do the left again. So you're really smoothing out all the bumps. There are no places where your progress speeds up because you're in absolute control at every moment. What is this like? It's kind of like balancing. What if you were balancing, if you were carrying a glass, a wine glass, or no, a martini glass full of martini on a tray, and you had to have that kind of care with your disposition. You had to be that sensitive. Go ahead and go to the other side. Both knees, elbows start bent, and then you begin to reach away with the opposite knee. In this case, this is the left knee. So now you can really hang out very, very close to the floor as you go back and forth from side to side and be in complete control the whole time. So rather than having to tumble over the edge and fall to the floor, and you can actually poise yourself almost all the way on your left side, and then you can bring yourself back by using the right knee first and the left knee second. When you come into the middle, you bring the knees back to the beginning place and start with both knees going to the right. Then the knees separate so they can steer. The left knee moves away towards the wall. Yeah, right there, I almost lost my balance. So that means I'm going to go back and test my reversibility to see what's missing from this equation. There it is. So that I could really get almost all the way to the floor and never fall, and then bring myself back to center. So now for the end of the lesson, let's go back to our baseline that we did before. So you're going to put your hands on your pelvis and lift one foot from the floor and lower, and lift the other foot from the floor and lower. And notice if your pelvis is more stable, if you're more able to counterbalance yourself so that your pelvis doesn't have to swing widely or tilt right to left when you lift your knee from the floor, whether you have more separation between your parts and more support. Mostly it's from the opposite leg that's lifting that's giving you the support. So we'll end there for today. I will see you next week with the part 3 of this Freeing the Sacrum series. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It's been a great first year. I'm very happy with how many subscribers I have. And I hope if you haven't subscribed that you do so.